Hello, and welcome to Managerial Accounting. My name is Dr. Annette Moultrie. Hello, and welcome back to Managerial Accounting. In this video, we will discuss Chapter 2, which is Job Order Costing. Chapter 2. The learning objectives for Chapter 2 are 1. Distinguish between job order costing and process costing. 2. Record materials and labor costs in a job order costing system. 3. Record actual and allocated overhead costs in a job order costing system. 4. Record the completion and sales of finished goods. 5. Adjust for over-allocated and under-allocated overhead. 6. Calculate cost of goods manufactured and cost of goods sold. And 7. Calculate job costs for a service company. So learning objective 1, distinguish between job order costing and process costing. How do manufacturing companies use job order and process costing systems? How do they do it? Well, a manager's core responsibilities revolve around planning and controlling. Now, cost accounting systems gather detailed information on product costs, enabling managers to accurately determine the cost of producing each unit. Now, this knowledge is essential for several key managerial functions. Setting profitable selling prices, calculating the cost of goods sold for the income statement, and determining the cost of inventory for the balance sheet. Furthermore, understanding product unit costs helps in budgeting, it helps in forecasting, and identifying cost-saving opportunities, ultimately contributing to more informed strategic decision-making and enhanced financial performance. Traditional cost accounting systems can be categorized into 2 types. One is job order costing, and the other, of course, is process costing. Now, job order costing is employed by companies that produce unique products or offer specialized services. In this system, costs are accumulated for each specific job or batch. Industries that typically use job order costing includes what? Accounting firms, music studios, healthcare providers, building contractors, of course, and custom furniture manufacturers. Process costing is used by companies that produce large volumes of identical units. Now, this system accumulates costs for each process involved in the production of the product. Here you see in Exhibit 2.1, it highlights the key distinctions between job order costing and process costing. Now, some businesses might implement both systems simultaneously. For instance, an RV manufacturer might apply process costing to its standard models while utilizing job order costing for custom build units. Now, both job order and process costing systems, they follow a 4-step approach to tracking product costs. That's accumulating, assigning, allocating, and adjusting. So as we examine product costs, we will trace these 4 steps from the inventory accounts on the balance sheet to the cost of goods sold on the income statement. So take an opportunity to look at the distinctions between the job order costing system and the process costing system. Okay, so we're here at Learning Objective 2. Record materials and labor costs in a job order costing system. How do materials and labor costs flow through the job order costing system? A job order costing system tracks costs as raw materials move from the storeroom to the production floor, where they are converted into finished products. We're still talking about Smart Touch learning. So Smart Touch learning uses a job cost record to document the product cost for each job. You have direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Here you see in this exhibit, it provides an example of a completed cost record for job number 27. So you see job number 27, the customer is Central College Bookstore, and they have ordered 15 tablets with accounting e-learning software. So with the direct labors, you see to the column left, you have the direct materials, then you have the direct labor and the manufacturing overhead. So in a job order costing system, companies need to accumulate and assign costs to each job. Now, costs are accumulated when the company purchases raw materials, they incur direct labor, and they also incur manufacturing overhead. The job cost record is initiated when work begins on a job. So in the case of Smart Touch Learning, you see that the company incurs costs. Now, these are added to the job cost record, and they are recorded in the work in process inventory. So once a job is finished, the total costs are transferred from WIP, or work in process, to finished goods inventory. Now, the transferred costs are referred to as the cost of goods manufactured. Which is the COGM. However, when the finished goods are sold, the costs move from finished goods inventory, which is an asset, okay, to cost of goods sold. Which is the cost of goods sold is an expense. So you see that Exhibit 2.3, it illustrates the flow of costs for 3 jobs. You see job number 27, 28, and job 29. Here they are, 27, 28, and 29. Okay. you also see that the company, Smart Touch Learning, they worked on many jobs throughout the year, but the exhibit focuses on these three. In the exhibit, job 27 and 28, when they were completed and their costs were transferred from WIP to finished goods, job 27, here you see, was delivered to the customer. So its cost moved from finished goods to cost of goods sold. And you see that job 29 is still in progress. And so it remains in WIP, the work in process inventory. Okay. Job 28 is finished, but it's yet not delivered. But we see that job 27 is finished and it is delivered to the customer. So each job's product costs are recorded on individual job cost records, which include direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. For the ending balance, the cost of job 29 remains in WIP. Job 27 and 28 have been completed, and their costs have been transferred to finished goods and labeled as the job COGM, or the cost of good manufactured. For the ending balance of finished good inventory, only the cost of job 28 remains. So once that job is sold, its costs are transferred from the finished goods inventory to the cost of goods sold. And the ending balance of the cost of goods sold reflects the cost of job number 27. Accounting for raw materials involves two main components. You have your procurement and utilization in production. Now, raw materials may be acquired in advance and they could be stored for future use, not necessarily used immediately upon purchase. So typically the quantities purchased and those actually used in production, they differ. Here in this example, purchasing materials, during 2026, the company Smart Touch Learning purchases raw materials of $367,000 on account. Now, this is a product cost that accumulates in the raw materials inventory account. Smart Touch Learning records the journal entry for the entire year rather than showing each individual purchase to simplify the recording process. The raw materials subsidiary ledger includes a separate record for each type of material that Smart Touch Learning uses to produce its tablets. So Smart Touch Learning would have separate pages in their ledger for the batteries, for the processors, cases, and other materials used. Here in this exhibit 4, it shows an example of Smart Touch Learning's raw materials subsidiary ledger for their batteries. Okay, so a subsidiary ledger allows for better control of inventory because it helps keep track each type of materials used in production. Remember that the balance of the raw materials inventory account in the general ledger should always equal the sum of the balances in the raw materials subsidiary ledger. Using materials. When Smart Touch starts job 27, on January 14th, 2026. The production team, they request materials for the job by filling out a materials requisition. And you see an example of the requisition here on the screen, Exhibit 2.5. Now, a materials requisition, I like to refer to it as a requisition only. But for the sake of this video, I will say materials requisition. A materials requisition is a request. It is a request for the transfer of raw materials to the production floor. So look at this subsidiary ledger here that you see. Notice that it records the materials requisition number, which is what? 342. Materials requisition number 342. It also records the number of units requisition and also their cost. So you see B103 batteries, the quantity is 15. The unit cost is $55. So the total cost for those batteries is $825. Now, when the raw materials are received on the production floor, they are recorded on the job cost record. Here you see Exhibit 2.6. It shows the job cost record for job number 27 after materials requisition 342 has been recorded. So the raw materials added to job 27 from this material requisition, they are considered direct materials. They're considered direct materials because the batteries can be easily and cost-effectively traced directly to the finished tablet. So Smart Touch Learning, they record a summary journal entry at the end of the period for all the materials used. They produce the tablets, both direct and indirect materials are used. Now, I want you to remember that direct materials can easily be traced. They can be easily and cost-effectively traced directly to the finished product. Indirect materials, however, cannot be easily and cost-effectively traced directly to the finished product. In 2026, Smart Touch Learning uses direct materials costing $355,000 and indirect materials of $17,000, right? The work in process inventory has a beginning balance of $80,000. Here you see here. To record the use of direct materials, the cost of direct materials is transferred out of raw materials inventory and assigned to work in process inventory. The amount debited to work in process inventory is the total of the individual job cost records. To record the use of indirect materials, the cost of the indirect materials is also transferred out of the raw materials inventory account. However, these costs are accumulated in the manufacturing overhead account with a debit. Manufacturing overhead is a temporary account. Manufacturing overhead is a temporary account used to accumulate indirect production costs during the accounting period. Because it's a temporary account, it is classified as an equity account. And we will show how manufacturing overhead is adjusted later in this presentation. Here you see in Exhibit 2.7, it shows the job cost record for job 27. It shows the cost for job 27. Direct labor costs are assigned to the job based on labor time records. Now, most companies use electronic labor time records to streamline the tracking of their labor costs. Employees use ID cards. They use the card to swipe and they enter their job information. And this time that they accumulate is automatically added to the appropriate job cost records. So if a company is using a manual system, each employee completes a labor time record that indicates the amount of time spent on each job. So during 2026, Smart Touch Learning incurs total labor costs of $197,000, to which $169,000 is direct labor and $28,000 is indirect labor. Okay? So recall that direct labor costs can be easily and cost-effectively traced directly to the finished product. Remember that. Indirect labor costs cannot. Indirect labor consists of labor costs for employees working in the factory, but not directly on the products, including employees in supervision. You talk about your supervisors, the maintenance workers, the janitorial workers. Those individuals are considered indirect labor cost. Okay. So the total cost of direct labor is debited to work in process inventory. The total cost of direct labor is a debit to work in process inventory. The indirect labor costs are accumulated in manufacturing overhead by debiting that account. So this is the same treatment as for the direct and indirect materials that was illustrated in transaction number 2 on the previous screen. Okay, so this is the end of part 1. This is the end of part 1. We will continue part 2, which is the learning objective 2.3, where we will discuss record actual and allocated overhead costs in a job order costing system. So thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video. Also, remember that this presentation, this video, is for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to click the like and subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will reply to you.